Happy 1st of July, everyone. So today I'm going to tell you how to finish Path of Exile campaign mode. It's a new player. So let's take a look. So I'm at the 6-hour minimum mark, and I get all the passives. I finished 2 labs. The third one I didn't do. I will explain that later. But yeah, so the real time I finished in game was I think it's 6 hours and 19 minutes, and plus and the real life the real world timer it was 6 hours and 33 minutes non-stop. So I did it this afternoon non-stop. I took one bathroom break and that's it. So how do you achieve this? I'm a relatively new player. I mean, previously it usually takes me like 10 hours to finish a campaign. And recently I decided to see if I could get any faster. And yeah, as you can see, I am able to do that right now, and I will show you what I have done. So of course, if you don't follow this guide, you can just go to any speedrun guide, and yeah, just follow it. So that will be. It sounds simple, right? But actually, not really, because in this game there are a lot of moving pieces, and where do you get started? I will explain. So it will cover like 2 parts. So first one is about the build, so which is how are you going to build your character and run the game. Secondly, I will skip the map layout part. You can just search for this PoE level guide. It's an open source project. You can download it, and it basically displays some overlays for you. In terms of the map layout, Path of Exile is not really true random. There are a bunch of sort of phase layouts, and they are fewer than Diablo 2. So that makes it possible for you to just run it relatively follow the pattern and run the game like this is. This will require practice. I'm not going to talk about this. And the third part is playstyle. Of course, like basically this I'm going to talk about what character you'll be playing and how you are going to play it. So the first question is about POB. A lot of people would ask, hey, like what's a POB? So POB is something that you can follow, yes. But POBs sometimes can be pragmatic because you don't know the intention behind it. You need to learn the mechanism and everything. So I would suggest you can take POB as a reference, but don't rely on it, and don't start with it. So where do you start? You start with data, because data are objective. So data don't lie. They may not be the best solution for you, but they are always the viable solution. So where do you get data? First of all, you can go to the speedrun.com and find some run. Basically, this is the run I was following. Just go to speedrun.com and search for Path of Exile, switch to 3.20, and go to this guide. So this is the first 5 minutes of this video, of this speedrun demo video, was introduction regarding how to speedrun. So I learned a lot from that. And why like this is data? Because this is data points. That this is a fire trap. So it started with rolling magma and holy flare totem, and convert to fire trap and frost link. And if this guy can finish in 3.5 3 hours and 3.5 hours, then probably like you can aim for double the time, like 7 hours. And for me, it's less than double the time. And this is, by the way, by far is not really like nowhere near world record. If it's a Titan killer, probably he'll be able to finish like in 2 hours something. But I would say for normal players, 6-7 hours is it's a big improvement from 10 hours. And not only you are going to save time in terms of speed run, but also this is a new experience. So because you would hate doing the campaign, but if you while I was practicing, actually it's a lot of fun. And other than this, another important data point is poe.ninja. So if you go to poe.ninja, so go to build, and look at either the current or the previous league. So go to day 1, and what you can see here is that these are the most popular league starters, and they are probably the most efficient ones. So, well, they may not be the most efficient one, but they just can't be wrong because the data is huge, right? And if you take a look at this, you got lightning arrow, probably like with Deadeye and the Pathfinder and the Raider, and then like Toxic Ring, of course the other Ranger classes, and yeah, Bone Shatter. This is I'm not so sure about, and this is what we are going to look at is Fire Trap, because the build I wanted to play was Necromancer, and if you compare like this all 3 classes, 3 Ascensions, elementalist was the most popular one, and this is the reason obviously was that it has better damage. So when you have like bad gear, then the more damage you can do, the faster you can play, and then you can always reroll. So I try to play some like build from beginning, avoiding respec and the net round to be a terrible idea. So if possible, don't do that. Just use the most efficient build a league star build, and in this case it's Fire Trap. And this the guy that I was showing you on the speed run was also Fire Trap. So Fire Trap, okay, let's go with it. And then this is like to recap, we talk about data, we are talking about data points, and we are talking about data would be better. Data points plus poe.ninja. And poe.ninja is very important for you because you can look at this passive heat map, and this is going to help you build your make your build. So you don't you of course can follow POB, but you need to understand why it's important. Because unlike Diablo 2, which is if you follow some guide, you can just decide when to how to level up, at which point you want to respec, and what kind of gear you're after, and there are fewer moving pieces. But for Path of Exile, the big moving pieces is the skill itself. The sockets are random, the links are random. You are aiming for 3 and 4 links, and what you can get is totally random. So you have different combinations, which means there's no silver bullet. But if you limit it to one build, then you can just plan the whole thing in the first place. And then what you can see from this build is that the majority of players need to grab the health nodes and everything, the health nodes, and this elemental overload. Okay, so you know that we are not aiming for the crit build. Instead, we can have like a 0 crit, just use a built-in crit. But as long as it triggers, then we will have the elemental overload to boost our damage. So this is the main idea. And then you can find that this line goes to here, which is goes to the give you the fire damage over time multiplier and the increased fire damage. So this suggests that instead of heat, probably most people are aiming for DOT. So damage over time, you see a lot of people are grabbing this, fewer people are grabbing this, but even fewer people are grabbing the pure fire damage. Why? Because there are just too many points need to be invested, so people would skip this. Okay, now we got some idea. So we are going to use our fire trap and some like other helper fire skills, and we are going to rely on ignite. So now, which means we are not going to rely on spell damage. We are going to rely on elemental damage. So this is knowledge that new player may not have, but you kind of like have to understand what can scale the skill that you are going to play. So for example, like this fire trap, there are different ways to scale, and we are going to scale ignite, which means we are going to scale the, as I said, elemental damage, fire damage, and the DOT damage. So putting all these together, then you have a solid tree. And do you really need POB? Seriously? The only thing you need is that you need to know what is good for a build. And same thing goes to other builds, like chaos build. We are going to like hit or DOT, and like some poison. Do you need a poison chance? Things like this. Yeah. So these are all the like information you need to know, which is understand your skill. As long as you understand your skill, you can build your own POB. And this also answers the question why we are going to play elementalist, even though we are going to transition to necromancer at some point later. I mean, in the later, just maybe after 90. The reason is that elementalist gives you 100% ignite chance for free. So now you don't need to grab the ignite chance nodes, and your nodes you put on in these kind of things. Of course, the more damage you can do, right? And there are some like again. So then you can see they are going to grab the reservation things like this. Then you are going to determine what kind of auras they are going to run. These kind of things. So from the heat map, you can get a lot of information. There are different variations, like sometimes maybe you in the late game you are going to go after spell suppression, which is not surprising because these are basically level 90 something players. They would grab this, but for you need to determine what you are going to grab while you just started playing. And at this point, now you can go back and go to some like video guide, for example, this video guide, and look at his POB and see why he would make these changes. Because then, only then, you will understand why these are his changes. If you skip this part and only copy for the POB, then you may just make stupid mistake. For example, like using, okay, this one that gives me like 30% spell damage, so must be good, but not really. And we talk about the skills, and after determining what skills we are going to use and our skill and what our skill tree is going to look like, we are going for the gear. The gear, as I said, it really has a lot of moving pieces. So what I would do is that I would find several candidates for one skill. For example, like this frost blink. So we are going to frost blink into a bunch of mobs and ignite them and use a DOT to kill them. So in this case, we can choose to spread this, and we can also we sort of have to convert cold to fire, which is an elemental list special thing. And we are going to use combustion to apply debuff. And also there are a bunch of other options. For example, like the burning damage support, just give you raw burning damage. Inspiration would save you mana. That is something that if you want to cast a spell a lot of time, you will do it. Cruelty, also a red skill, red support gem can scale your DOT and hit damage. And even something like added cold damage, added fire damage, they may not be as good as some other skills. But as you can see, I'm using Armageddon brand. If I can't find another green skill to support it, I can just use added cold skill, cold damage. So this will not really scale the ignite, but it will hit. Actually no, because all damage will ignite. So yeah, even this can give us some good damage burst. So if you remove it, it's going to be like 35 something. As you can see, this is maybe 20 to 30%. So basically in PoE, a support gem gives you start from 20 to 25 to 45 to 50, depends on the level. So basically it's the relationship multiply. And that is why you always want the more links the better, because you are just multiplying it by 1.2, eventually to 1.5 at some point. And this is more important than the damage effects you can get from the gear. Yeah, so basically to recap about the gear, offense wise, you are going to get the gem and the color and link. This is the most important thing. And after this, I totally don't go with damage effects at all. I don't worry about it. Why? Because as a new user, the information is just too overwhelming. So trust me, you stay there and look at the gear. So it will easily like take 5 or 10 minutes to compare gear and everything. And that is not how you are going to speedrun, because after 5, 10, 30 minutes, the gear will be gone. You are, instead of spending time looking at the gear, check out the best gear for the current state, just use some okay gear. As long as your link is good, you can do pretty good damage, trust me. So like I totally didn't look at the damage effects myself. So most people like speedrunners, they would craft the mods like a fire damage over time or something. I didn't even do that. I just grab whatever is available as long as the color is correct, and then I was able to finish it in 6.5 hours. So it's totally doable. Don't worry about it unless you are really good at looking at the gear. This is by far the most challenging part I see from like my personal experience in terms of like this noob speedrun. Because figuring out the links and the color, there are a bunch of combinations, but it's relatively fewer moving pieces. But when in terms of gear, of course you can just chase some damage gear, but also you need to balance your health and your resistance. So health and resistance is the most important thing from gear. So when I take a look at gear, even if it's white, I will have to make the link and the color correct. And after that, I will look for rest, and then it's going to be life. So these are the things I'm going to look at, and of course movement speed. These are the items I'm going to look at, and that is the only thing I'm going to look at, which is color link. So link is more important than color, because as I said, colors you can have several candidates to choose from. So link is more important than color. And then like it's resistance. Actually, it should be like elemental resistance, because for chaos you can survive with minus 50% in campaign mode, no problem with that. Just move away from those green ball falling on top of your head, and that chaos damage should be fine. and then like of course life, and then like damage. So if you are good at it, you're not super good at the gear. So for skill, to recap, you need to find support candidates of different color levels options. Okay, so putting all this together, you should be able to just start to roll, and there are some like tricks that you can so you want to start get some early game essence to in case you have some white gear, and the essence is more reliable than the Alk orb, and Alk you are going to use it to buy maps from Kirak later in the game, or like to craft your own to make your map yellow map rare or something. So you need these currencies. So you can save these currencies, but some other currencies like as low level essence, they literally don't have any use. And even if they do, just try to use the currency as early as possible as they can help. For example, to craft things, just some like random mana effects like movement speed. So by the way, I could get in-game timer 6 hours and 10 minutes if I don't make two mistakes. I made a couple mistakes. The first was that I didn't craft the movement speed mod when as soon as the craft bench was unlocked. So you should do it right at the early stage of Act 2. So I did it pretty late. I was thinking, well, maybe I can get a better, like some gear or something. Boot or something. Don't do that. Just use your currency as long as you can afford it. And secondly, I made a mistake that I ran the third lab before I fight Gitava, of course, because you don't have the penalty. So if it's SSF, that's arguably a doable strategy. But if it's not SSF, right after you should be aiming to get to level 68 and 72, these two levels, because after achieve these two levels, probably most of the trade items are unlocked to you, so you can just buy gear at 1 chaos and easily fix your resistance problem later on. And if you are like watching this guide, it probably means that you haven't really been able to finish the campaign in 6 hours yet, and that probably means that it's actually pretty risky for you to do the third lab before fighting Kilava after level 65. And again, as I said, it turned out to be a mistake. I wasted 9 minutes. So if remove these two, if I didn't make this mistakes in-game timer, I could reduce it to 6 hours and 10 minutes. But then that's not really a big deal. Just you got to learn. It's a learning process. And I finished. As I said, I will skip the layout part because you have to assist you. And the third one is the playstyle. So this thing is really simple, but you can easily get it wrong. So I make a mistake that I practice the first basically the Botas run. So it should take something like 8 minutes or something, and and it took me super long, maybe 20 minutes to finish. So I got super frustrated. But the problem, so and 8 minutes is the world record. So a reasonable speed run time would be like 15 minutes, or like 20 12 to 15 minutes and finish at 20 minutes. So I got super frustrated, and people kind of corrected me on Reddit. They corrected me saying that that is actually the hardest part. Why? Because you need to fix your gear, you need to fix your skill, and instead of just grab anything from the ground, you actually need to look for wonder items, and there are a lot of moving pieces in the beginning stage of the map. So it's okay to spend more time in Act 1 to 3. So there are some like there are some like a switching point. So I think at level 8 and 12 yeah, and Act 2 you can grab some, for my build you can grab some new skater belt and wave of wave of what? That wave of it's called, yeah, wave of conviction, and something to grab. But the most important part probably is going to be like the 28, because you will have like a skill like cremation or make Armageddon brand, things like this. So you need to be like a super planned. So for example, like you need to decide when you are going to switch to Fair Trap, and when it's Armageddon brand, you are going to actually, I think probably 1, 3, and are the most important ones. And particularly because the so many moving pieces in level in Act 1, in Act 3 you can access library, and then you are going to like transition to Leap Slam, and that is require some preparation. You need to get your scepters ready beforehand, and you need to get the green red link for your Leap Slam build. So we can actually look at our item level. So item level, in terms of item level, we have like 17, 32, 18, 26. So yeah, 40. As you can see, 31, 56. This is actually no, actually 44. So I don't have to update my gear. So you get a lot of strength from your passive tree. That is okay for you to just have really shitty gear and beat the game at somewhere even a little bit more than 2,000 health. So that is totally doable. So don't be afraid of that. Because as I said, we are not playing SSF. We are aiming for to reach to the level 72 minimum benchmark, so that we can buy things really cheap with a lot of resistance. So this is something that I get. I was kind of simulating the SSF scenario, so I got this. I think it's pretty good. But how do you get this? So basically, in the late game, you'll have more resource. So I just pick up all the red yellow items and ID them, and this is the only one that is actually usable. I just ditched maybe. Actually, we can see how many. By the way, I have a lucky job here. Yay, develop. So yeah, you can see how many alteration orb I have. This is all because I did them. This is probably not the best strategy. Like I will still keep doing that, but yeah, like you don't really have to do this if you are playing Trade League. So yeah, I'm going to see how well in terms of the mapping strategy, because previously my main strategy was to squeeze the best SP from the maps as early as possible and as much as possible, and I was trying to see what if I just rush through the game and don't care about SP, and just aim for fielding the Atlas as soon as possible. Wow, 4th of July, the Pharaoh, that's pretty good. Yeah, so I'm still going to like have a lot of things to learn, but yeah, that's it. So this is a pretty long video, but I hope that you'll find it maybe help you a little bit, and yeah, I will see you next time.